What is up, Budget Billers? My name is Trail, and today we have some stimulus money that was just approved a few days ago. Yes, one state is going to be sending out $300 stimulus checks in the form of a prepaid Visa debit card. Now, obviously, we wish that all states and counties would use that federal funding money to be used for all Americans in each state. But so far, very little amount of counties and states are actually providing that money to the American people who need it the most. But as we wait for the Senate to start negotiating and to pass that massive social spending bill, we could see more stimulus and safety net programs opening up to more low-income families as well coming soon. Now, in the meantime, we are also dealing with the debt ceiling crisis that's just around the corner. The Treasury Secretary warned lawmakers weeks ago of the possible debt limit ceiling that the United States could face its first default on its obligations in American history. But hopefully these dang knuckleheads in Congress can get their acts together and either extend the debt ceiling or to suspend it altogether. Now, we did hear that both the Senate Minority Leader and the Senate Majority Leader are actually working together on something secretly in regards to the debt ceiling increase. So far, this could bring some good news sometime this week. Now, in addition to that, we also have some top news stories that I do want to share with you as well. So be sure that you stay until the end of this video. But before we get started, hey, if you're interested in those particular topics, be so kind and hit that like button for us. It really helps out this channel. And also, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's totally free. Now let's go ahead and get right back into this video. Okay guys, I do have some bad news to start off with because on Sunday, a red SUV plowed into people that was having a Christmas parade in Wisconsin. And right here on this article that multiple people are casualties and at least 20 people were injured after this SUV plowed into these individuals. Now, this shocking scene unfolded around 4:30 p.m. in Waukesha, Wisconsin. There were some fatalities, he said at a brief conference on Sunday night. He said, "We do not have detailed information on the fatalities at this time." Now, Thompson said that more than 20 people were hit, confirming that the police officer fired at the vehicle and that a suspect was in custody as what he called a very fluid investigation. Now, it is unknown at this time whether this incident was a piece of terrorism or not, but the incident took place just 50 miles north of Kenosha. As we were walking back in between buildings, we saw an SUV crossover, just put the pedal to the metal and just zooming full speed along the parade route. And then we heard a loud bang and just deafening cryings and screams from people who were there and struck by this vehicle. Now, we saw people running away and stopping and crying, and there are people on the ground who look like they have been hit by this vehicle. Now, we did see videos on social media that showed the red SUV plowing through barriers as well as speeding onto the crowd up ahead in this parade. So yeah, guys, right now we want to send a quick prayer out to the families who are affected by this tragedy down in Wisconsin. We definitely want to pray for the fatalities as well as those hit by these vehicles, and we want to pray for them at this time, sending our prayers out to them for a full recovery. But on to some better news, guys. Disney World is now pausing its COVID-19 vaccination mandate policy for its park staff. The Walt Disney World Resort has placed a hold on its COVID-19 vaccination protocol for its employees, according to a spokesperson for the Disney told Reuters on Saturday. Now, the Orlando, Florida resort is the first and currently the only part of Disney to backtrack on the company-wide vaccination policy that was enacted back in July. The policy made COVID-19 vaccinations mandatory for all on-site salaried and non-union hourly employees in the United States as cases of the Delta variant began to rise over the summertime. He said that we believe that our approach to mandatory vaccines has been the right one as we have continued to focus on the safety and the well-being of our cast members as well as our guests. Now, more than 90% of active Florida-based cast members have been verified that their vaccination status, as well as Walt Disney World employs 77,000 employees at the park as of September of this year. Now, this particular news could be because of the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis. He signed those laws earlier last week, making the state the first in the country to impose fines on businesses and hospitals requiring COVID-19 vaccination. Now, the Biden administration updated its COVID vaccine guidelines earlier this month, requiring millions of workers across industry to be fully vaccinated against the coronavirus, as well as COVID testing on a regular basis that's going to be starting on January the 4th. However, that was put to a halt because of a federal court ruling that subsequently blocked the vaccine mandate, calling it staggeringly overbroad. So yeah, guys, as far as Disney goes, in Florida only, they are putting a pause to the vaccine mandate that was imposed by the Biden administration, which we all know that the Biden administration has also stopped the actual mandate because of the federal ruling. Now, we will want to see what exactly goes on coming soon from this federal court as far as whether or not this vaccine mandate can be imposed on all states, as well as the companies that employ more than 100 employees. Also in the headlines, COVID-19 cases are continuously rising with the Thanksgiving gatherings on the way. COVID-19 cases are climbing nationally as the U.S. barrels into the second holiday season during the pandemic, with most families planning this year to gather for Thanksgiving. The U.S. is in better shape than it has been in the previous year, when authorities confirmed well over 160,000 COVID-19 cases every day. Now, the daily average as of now of new cases stands below 100,000 people, and almost 200 million Americans are actually fully vaccinated right now. They can feel good about enjoying a typical holiday season, top infectious disease expert Anthony Fauci said earlier this week. Now, right now, millions of people are still unvaccinated, as well as cases are continuously rising. Experts are urging Americans to, particularly the unvaccinated, particularly vaccinated and vulnerable, to exercise caution when gathering with others. Now, there is some concern that the rate of infection spreading is already so high as we head into the holiday season. The head of the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health said we're definitely headed into another surge. Right now, the daily average of about 48,000 hospital admissions is flat from 2 weeks ago, while the 1,100 fatalities per day has dipped by 1%. But right now, the risk of different Thanksgiving gatherings vary, as indoor events are more dicey than outdoor events, and including unvaccinated guests posing more danger than limiting to fully vaccinated attendees. In the end, experts said that it ultimately depends on how much risk individuals want to take over this particular holiday. But tell me, guys, down below in the comment section if you are planning on gathering together this year with your family and friends for the Thanksgiving holiday, or if you're just planning on sitting this one out another year as COVID cases continue to increase. And now it's time for some stimulus update news. Now, back in May of this year, states and counties were sent about $350 billion in federal stimulus money as a result of the American Rescue Plan that was signed by President Biden back in March. And as a result, some states have decided to just sit on that money until a later date, as the deadline to actually use all of the federal funds is at the end of the year of 2024. But some states are actually using that money for its citizens to either thank them for their service over the pandemic or to send stimulus checks to low-income households who could really use that money during this pandemic. And here recently, Santa Ana in California just received approval to give out about $6 million to low-income households. Santa Ana City Council approves of $6 million to revive Santa Ana resident stimulus program. The city of Santa Ana will distribute $6 million in prepaid Visa debit cards to households in the most impoverished areas of the city under the revived Santa Ana resident stimulus program. About 20,000 rental units will each receive a prepaid card valued at $300 that can be spent at any Santa Ana business that accepts Visa cards. The Santa Ana City Council on Tuesday, November the 16th, unanimously approved that the program and increased the total amount to be distributed in order to include more households. Now, this program is part of the $160 million Revive Santa Ana Pandemic Recovery Initiative, which is fully funded by the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has had disproportionate impact on the residents of Santa Ana, especially those who live in high poverty neighborhoods with overcrowded living conditions. Now, the mayor said that the resident stimulus program will help families recover from the economic effects of the pandemic while also putting money back into our local economy. Now, due to the strict federal guidelines, a data-driven analysis was conducted to determine the eligible areas that are most in need of additional financial support. Rental units in census tracts with poverty rates above Santa Ana's median poverty rate of 42% will qualify to receive a prepaid debit card of $300. Now, the city will distribute these debit cards door to door to rental units in the eligible areas in the coming weeks. If staff is unable to contact a head of household of an address, they will be contacted to arrange for delivery at a later date. So yes, guys, the $300 prepaid debit cards are on the way in the coming weeks. Now, in other news, the U.S. debt ceiling crisis is just around the corner. Now, we already escaped the first opportunity for the U.S. to default on its obligations, and we don't want to go through that again, by the way, which is why the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, has been warning lawmakers for weeks about the approaching timeline for the U.S. to officially run out of money earlier next month. The Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, warns lawmakers that the U.S. could breach its debt limit by December the 15th. Now, the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, warned lawmakers on Tuesday that the United States would be unable to pay its bills soon after December the 15th and urged Congress to take swift action to lift the nation's borrowing cap. Now, in a letter to Congress, Ms. Yellen said that there are scenarios in which Treasury would be left with insufficient remaining resources to continue to finance the operations of the United States government beyond this particular date. Now, she also added that to ensure the full faith and credit of the United States, it is critical that Congress raise or suspend the debt limit as soon as possible. Now, Ms. Yellen also sounded similar warnings just weeks ago. Last month, after approaching the first default in American history, Congress raised the statutory debt limit by $480 billion, which is an amount that the Treasury Department estimated would allow the government to continue borrowing through early December. But that was just a short-term fix, and the Republicans, who reluctantly joined Democrats in approving of the temporary extension, have insisted that President Biden and his party vote on their own plan to approve of a longer-term suspension or lifting the debt limit altogether. But Ms. Yellen has acknowledged that Democrats have the ability to address the debt limit without the Republican support by using a budgetary procedure called reconciliation. However, she has said it would be preferably for the debt limit to be raised on a bipartisan basis, which has long been the tradition, given that the government must meet financial obligations that both Republicans and Democrats have incurred over the years. But it does seem like some lawmakers are actually working ahead of the game, because we just found out that Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell have been working behind closed doors on a solution to the upcoming debt ceiling deadline. Schumer and McConnell dialed down the debt ceiling drama. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell are dialing down the drama as they try to find an escape route from another high-stakes fight over the debt ceiling. Congress has until roughly December the 15th to raise the nation's borrowing limit, according to the Treasury Secretary. On the surface, the deadline sets a stage for round two of a bruising fight between the Senate leaders, who spent weeks in open warfare in the lead up to the October debt ceiling vote, each walking far out on two limbs into their game of one-upmanship. Now, previously, McConnell and Schumer, who are colleagues, say that they rarely actually talk or publicly pulling their punches, or now is what senators view as a marriage of necessity because of this debt ceiling. And they view this marriage of necessity with the global economy hanging in the balance rather than a love match between the two adversaries. But I don't know that this is necessarily a thought. I just think that there's a realization that this has to get done, according to Senator John Thune, which is the number 2 Senate Republican. Now, previously, McConnell sent a letter to President Biden in regards to a speech that was made by Chuck Schumer, calling his remarks was unnecessary. He said that I write to inform you that I will not provide such assistance again if your all-Democratic government drifts into another avoidable crisis. Chuck Schumer said that we cannot let a full faith and credit of the United States lapse, and we are focused on getting this done in a bipartisan way. And then Mitch McConnell was asked in regards to about working with the Democrats on wanting the debt ceiling increase to be bipartisan. McConnell responded and said, "We'll figure it out some way, somehow, to avoid a default. We always do." Now, the two had a rare in-person meeting a day after the two sources told The Hill that they were actually talking with each other, with McConnell saying afterwards that they had a good conversation and we agreed to kind of keep talking with each other, working together to try and get somewhere with this, which is what McConnell stated. So yeah, guys, it seems just a little bit early, but I am glad to see that these two lawmakers from both chambers are working together in a bipartisan way to make sure that this country has enough borrowing power to pay its bills and to meet its obligations, regardless to what president is in office right now. So the U.S. is dealing with enough problems right now as we are slowly recovering from this pandemic and the deadline with supply chain shortages, and as we are getting closer to the holiday season where our friends and families are planning on spending time together after being unable to do this last year as the virus cases were extremely high. But I hope that McConnell and Schumer can fix this problem to avoid a government shutdown in the next week or so, as well as I hope that the Senate can come to an agreement to pass some form of this social and climate spending bill before Christmas. Also, in the meantime, if you live in Santa Ana, California, check out the link down below to get more information about these $300 prepaid Visa debit cards that are coming out very soon. But anyways, guys, hey, that's all I have for you today. Now, if you enjoyed this type of content and you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's totally free. And if you like this video, then go ahead and hit that like button for us. It really helps out this channel, as well as it tells YouTube to share this video with others. But anyways, guys, hey, I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.